So let's now carry on designing and building our about page. So you'll see I just finished off a little bit more styling over here. I did think it looked better without a background color. So I've just gone ahead and left that like that. Of course, you guys are going to style yours however is going to be right for your website. So let's now build out this about us page. So let's just add a section here introducing maybe who we are, our vision, and maybe our mission. So let's go ahead and do that now. So let's start with a new container with a horizontal flow. And within that container, let's drag another 2 containers, or should I say 1 and then duplicate. So what I'm thinking is we'll have sort of like a vision over here with some small bit of text. And then over this side will be our mission. So let's actually get on with that now. So what I'm going to do, I am going to select a new heading here. So let's actually go ahead and get a dual heading. Let's drag a dual heading in there. Let's turn all of these bits off again. Let's remove that text. Let's remove that last part. So this is just going to be, let's say, our approach. So that is okay, our approach. Let me quickly style that. So let's come along to, first of all, let's remove that default padding and margin. Let's come along to typography, to gradient. And I'm just going to leave that as what it is because, in fact, I'm just going to copy this one since we already have that and paste that style down there so that we have this. So that's an easier way to do it. So we'll leave it as that. I can see that that alignment is in the center. So let's come back to content, come down to the bottom and align to the left. That also had a sliding effect. So I'm just going to remove that for now under motion effects. Let's remove that fade in animation. And that is looking okay as a subheading. So now we just want to drag in a heading this time. So let's drag a heading in just below that. Maybe this time we'll say, get to know us better, something like that. We'll leave that as a H2, left aligned. We'll come to style. We'll select the text color. We'll go with accent and then the typography to primary. And we'll leave it as that. So we obviously want to remove this additional gap here. So to do that, let's come along to the container. I'm going to come to layout and remove the gap between elements and make that 0. And if you remember, we always have this additional padding here, but we'll fix that afterwards. So what we want to do now is, I'm thinking, let's go with another dual image, dual color image here. So I'll show you how we can now use this with actual 2 titles in it. So we've got the title first part and title second part. So we're going to use both of those. Let's turn off the icon and remove that text as a starter. And then we just want to align this to the left. So alignment left. And now we can just come in and fill in this content. So let's go with 01. So first, and then the second one will be our vision, like that. So now we can come along to our style. Now we can remove the default padding and margin. That is okay. We can come down to our color and typography. We can come along to our title style now. So now we're just going to keep this, rather than a gradient, just a fixed. Let's go ahead and select maybe our primary color there. And then for the subtitle text, or sorry, for the main color text here, let's go ahead and maybe select either black or accent. In fact, do we go with a black or do we go with accent? I'm going to leave it as an accent. I think that looks okay. Now for the typography, we're going to come along to maybe primary. In fact, I might try that as an accent color. So an accent typography. We can come along to that again. Just make this a little bit smaller. Let's select rem. Let's make this a 1.6. Then maybe a little bit smaller, 1.5. That is okay. And now we're going to have a small bit of text below that. So in fact, I don't actually want that to be all uppercase. So we can go with capitalize just like that. So our vision, and that is looking good. So now we want to add a text editor below this. So let's drag some text in. So we've got a text editor just below that. Now I've also got some hipster Ipsum up here from Hipsum. So let's just go ahead and copy some of this. Copy. Let's paste this into the editor. Just going to add a little bit more, a couple more paragraphs. Maybe drop that in and then maybe drop that one down as well so that it looks like that. So that is okay. I'm happy with that. Let's now come along to style this. So text color will be text and then the typography will be text. So nice and easy. We've now got our approach over here. We just want to come along now and maybe add a little bit more style, remove the padding, add some negative margin. We can do that now. So let's come back to our heading here. I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger. I might actually make that a 2.2 just to stand out a bit more. That is okay. Let's come to advanced. I'm going to uncheck the margin and I'm going to add some negative to the top there, maybe negative 15. And then I'm going to add a little bit of padding to the bottom. Actually, I'm going to make that a little bit smaller so that maybe we have a 6 and a 4 like that. That looks pretty centered. And I'm pretty happy with that. So I'm going to keep that as that is. So now we can start working on our mission over this side. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to copy this, our mission, or duplicate, and then we can drag that over to this side. And now we can come along and just edit this. So instead of 01, this is going to be 02, and this is now going to be our mission. So nice and easy, that one. So now we can drag in a feature list or an icon list or something like that. And this is going to list our mission. So let's actually start looking for that now. So we are looking for an icon list. Icon list, that will do. Let's drag this in. And now we can start editing this. So let me just, well, first of all, I'm just going to delete the other two. And then what we'll do is we'll get this first one all configured and then we can duplicate it once we've got everything all styled and correct. So I'm actually going to change the icon here. I'm going to go with something like an arrow. Maybe just pointing right, something like that. I'm happy with that. And now for the text for this, let's just go and start typing. So maybe paralleled client service. That will be okay. Can't spell unparalleled. So we've got one there. Let's just now go away and duplicate that. So the second one, we can now say maybe modern and beautiful designs, and then duplicate that one. And then the third one we can say top class customer support, and then we can say duplicate. Fourth one we can say honest and proactive team members, maybe. I don't know, I'm completely making this up now. So I'm just going to leave that as those, honest and proactive team, get rid of the members. So that is our mission. Let's say that those 4 points there are our mission points. So let's now just come along and style this. So let's add some space between them. I'm going to go with maybe 9 or 10. That looks okay. Let's come along to the icon now. Let's maybe change that to a default accent purple color. And now we can maybe make that a bit bigger or smaller. I'm thinking maybe an 18 looks good. If you wanted to edit the gap there, you absolutely can as well. I'm going to keep that as a 1 or a 0. Vertical position as well. Let's come along now to the text. So let's change the default to text. Let's change the, maybe in fact what I will do is make that a little bit bolder, maybe 500. So that is a little bit bolder. So it looks like that. And then the transform, I'm just going to change that to capitalize, so they're all capitalized. So something like that I think is looking pretty good. We could actually make that slightly smaller typography, so maybe a 0.9 there. Oh, definitely not a 10.9, 0.9. That is okay. And I'm happy with that, so that is looking good. And now the last thing that I think that we could use is just to drag in an image here and just use... just to take up that bit of space with a bit of an image. So I'm going to just drag in a container over here, something like that. Now I could just give this container a background image. I could drag an image into this. Whatever it is, that however you want to do that is absolutely fine. I'm just going to give this container a background image. Classic. I'm going to drag in an image here. So this image is going to be attached as a resource to this lesson. So if you wanted to come along and add that in or use that, that is fine. I'm going to have that like that. I'm going to change the position to center and the display size to cover so that it looks like that. I'm also just going to give this maybe a min height just to take up the remainder of that space. So maybe something like that. So that is looking good. And what I think I will do is just to add maybe a background color to this section, just to add a splash of color, or not even a splash of color. I mean, just because we can. Why do we need an excuse to add a background color, right? So let's add a classic. Let's maybe we could go with something like a gray. I mean, it does look pretty cool with a gray. And then the next one can be a white. I'm going to go with a gray, an F2. That looks pretty modern. I do like that. We could go with something like an off-white, like a really subtle pinky colour. Maybe like a pinky grey, something like that. That also looks pretty cool. Decisions. I'm going to go with this one. So I'm just going to copy that. And then what I'm going to do, the section above or the container above, the parent, I'm just going to come to the style and the shape divider, and just on the bottom there where we have that, I'm just going to change that color to the color that we just changed there, just to edit this bit here and that bit there. So that is that bit taken care of. I'm going to come back to this parent container here and just add a little bit of padding. You could also give it a min height, whichever way you wanted to do it. I'm just going to give this some padding here. Let's select that. Let's add maybe, let's see what it looks like with 80. That's probably a bit much. So maybe 60 at the top, maybe 100 at the bottom. Going to change that to 70. And then we just want to add maybe 25 left and 25 right, so that it looks like that. I'm also going to add maybe a bit more space between the two here. So let's do that now. So I'm just going to add some padding on the right hand side of this inner container. We're going to uncheck that and just add some right margin or padding, whichever one you wanted to add, just to give it a bit more space. So something like that. So I think that is looking pretty cool now. So that's a nice kind of introduction to who we are. What I'm thinking in the next bit is maybe add in some of our top team. So maybe the top 3 of our top team. And we can showcase some cool effects where when we hover over those, we get some more information about that actual team member. So that'll be pretty cool as well. And we are going to pick that up in the next lesson.